it's not going to last forever. And so the tide is going to turn. As an employer, keep that in mind. As a small business owner, keep that in mind. And we're back. Welcome to the latest episode of Commerce and Chill. Hi, I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
Is this thing on? I'm Waleed.
Hi, Waleed. What's good?
Life's good. Chilling.
Yeah, really. I'm glad you're so good.
Well,
Because right now I'm about to pull my hair out. We have clients asking for additional people. And we're trying to find them. And we are not between a rock and a hard place. We are between what they call opportunity and what you may have heard referred to as the Great Resignation.
what is that? What is this? The Great Migration, the Great Depression? What is this?
It's something
roaring 20s?
somebody
What?
came up with.
Who came up with this and what does it mean?
Nonetheless, regardless of whether or not you've heard of the Great Resignation, whether you're a part of the Great Resignation, if you think it's a joke like Mr. Cope here does,
I didn't say I think it's a joke. I'm just
you're like, what is it?
I'm just like, listen, I hear people talking about it, but I'm just like, listen, this has been going on for a minute. Depending what kind of business you're in and the socioeconomic population you employ, this been going on for a minute.
But it's not just the poor people.
I didn't see.
You said
never heard.
socioeconomic.
Right,
I think it's happening across.
But socioeconomics could
board.
be any. There's a range on socioeconomics. When you say socioeconomic, that doesn't just mean one group of people. It's talking about economics and social. That's why it's called socioeconomics. I'm not talking about just one group of people. I'm talking about just in business in general. If you're an employer, depending on who your target population is that you employ, you've seen stuff like this going on for a minute. And yeah, people want to say COVID, this, that, and the third. But now somebody's decided to add a name to it, to give it a title. Like, people have been quitting since quitting was quit. Like, people been quitting jobs since jobs was invented. Like, it's just what it is. And it's not, people want to say it's COVID or it's this, it's that. Let me tell you something. It's people. All right? It's people. Because I got stories on top of stories of people who start working and then all of a sudden they want to resign. And it's people. And when I say people, it's on the...
You mean people?
I mean people. P-E-O-P-L-E. It's people, but it's people on both sides. On the employer side and the employee side. It's not just one way, I'm saying here. It's on both sides of the fence.
So before the end of today's episode, our goal is to help you understand how small businesses can cultivate loyalty during and through the Great Resignation.
You're not going to understand the Great Resignation. Just do good in your company. Set a good culture. And then the people who are meant to be there will be there. And those who aren't will find the exit. Why do you think they put those big exit signs over doors with the red letters and they light up?
In the event of an emergency.
No, it's not for fire code. It's for the people who are at your company who do not belong there, that they can find their way out very quickly because you want the exit is that way. You need them out to improve the culture of your firm.
Okay.
Trust me when I tell you, been there 1,000 times. When you got somebody on the team and you come to work and you be like, you be deflated. And then when they leave, all of a sudden you feel a new joy or energy. You be like, wow, it's a whole new place again. That's why the signs light up. So those people could see it day or night, night and day.
Okay.
Please leave. But go ahead, you were saying.
Well, does that mean, if you said that's it, does that mean there's no episode or we finished there?
Nah, I'm sure you've got some stuff from like Merriam-Webster's, the Urban Dictionary or whatever etymology, what's it called?
Well, let's rewind a little bit.
What is the Great Resignation?
What is the Great Resignation?
You tell me.
So
I'm here to learn on this episode.
But you said it's not like what?
Teach me, Professor.
So, according to Inc.com, the Great Resignation is an informal name for the widespread trend of a significant number of workers leaving their jobs during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's sometimes also called the Big Quit. The Great Resignation is typically discussed in relation to the U.S. workforce, but the phenomenon is international. How has it affected businesses that you deal with?
Listen, again, I'll say the same thing. This whole Great Quit thing, I've been experiencing it for a minute.
What's a minute? Like, give us some context.
Since I've been in the entrepreneur game. Like people, listen, I've had people, this is before COVID, they've interviewed, they come in and they're like, oh, well, you know what? Here's a job, here's the offer. And they'll say, oh, you know what? I'd rather just stay home and get unemployment.
But that's not the big quit, because if you never hired them.
There are people we've extended offer letters to, and they were about to start, and they said that. Listen, I had somebody, what's today? Wednesday? Tuesday?
We changed days.
Yeah, we film on Tuesdays now. It used to be Wednesdays. I'm all screwed up. There was someone who's just joined here not too long ago, and they worked, I don't know, a week and a half. And then a week and a half in, I get a phone call. Oh, I got some bad news, Mr. Cope. And I'm just like, use my psychic powers over the phone real quick. I was like, you about to quit, right? So like, come on, you calling me in early in the day, and you work late, and you tell me you got bad news. I'm like, okay, what's up? Well, you know, I got an offer from another employer, something like the way they worded it. I'm like, okay, cool, congrats, like more power to you. Yeah, well, you know, it's an opportunity. It's going to give me more experience, and I'm like, I'm happy for you. And in some cases, these things do happen because I get it. People are applying for multiple jobs at the same time. And then one might hit before the other, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like when you're trying to hit on a sneakers app, but you only hit for one. Sometimes you hit for none. But they get a hit and then they get hired. And then somebody else reaches out to them and says, you know what, we want to hire you. And now they're just comparing who's going to pay me more money, or maybe is this one closer, depending on the job, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times they're looking at the dollar amount. Mm-hmm. So I get it. I'm not knocking anybody for that. Like, if the opportunity is there, seize it. I want people to grow, to be better when they leave here than when they came in, 100%. But this case is a little different. But it kind of was on the same parameters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got, they just opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And I think he said they were going to pay him like, I don't know, a dollar more.
More.
This is what somebody told me. Like, they didn't say it to me directly, but I heard this from my contacts out in the field.
So just to keep it in perspective, $1 more per hour for the average American worker, if you work 2,080 hours a week, or that's 52 weeks a year at 40 hours per week, that's a gross difference of $2,080.
Listen, $1 is $1.
It is. I'm just
every
saying.
Penny counts depending on. So I'm not knocking that. But here's where it gets a little funky. So they said, okay, no 2 weeks notice. I'm going to just finish out the week. And like, it's, I don't know, maybe Tuesday or whatever. So I'm like, cool, check. I'll make note of that. No, like, you're just bouncing now. But at least they finished out the week. I've had people call me and tell me I'm resigning as of today, or email me or whatever, and just not show up. Cool. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll let the team know. There was some other training we had going on that this person was involved with. And then the person still went to the training. So they were technically still working here. So we held up our end of the training obligation and commitment. They did the training. And when the training was over, I got a phone call. And they said to me, hey, like, this training thing, like this training was for a particular location of work for safety. And they were like, this looks really interesting. And I think it'd be good for my like resume. It'd be good experience. Like, how soon are you starting those? Blah, blah, blah. Like, are you going to put me there, being that you put me in a class? Because if you are, then I'll quit the other job that I just took the offer from and come back to you. Mm-mm. And I was like,
nope.
Interesting. And I get it to a certain degree, but let me be absolutely clear. That whole resignation thing, people are looking at it, I think, in the wrong light. They're looking at it in that quick snapshot of a second and saying, I'm going to jump from this to that, versus weighing out all the, and I'm not saying, listen, the best thing since sliced bread or whatever, and if you go somewhere else, you stupid, blah. I'm not saying that. But let me tell you something. The grass sometimes is greener on the other side.
Because they have a higher water bill.
Or that thing is AstroTurf. Right? And there ain't nothing wrong with playing on AstroTurf if you like it. But you could get a lot of burns from it. You can get a lot of injuries because it ain't the same as playing on natural grass. But I get it. So, but when you look at that looking at it from one side as the employer, you just got to look back and say, hey, this is how it happened. This is what happened, and make note of it. And what you got to do is look for what were the cues and the indicators. What were the characteristics of this person that you hired, to see, does that match up to anybody else throughout your hiring process, so you can see if that will happen again, and then say maybe not hire an individual that falls into that bracket, or ask them deeper questions in the interview, like, so how many other jobs have you applied for? How's your job search going? And then they start telling you, well, I applied for all these jobs. I had 3 interviews with this place and 2 with this, and then you're like, let me wait and see how that plays out before I extend them the offer, because I'm not trying to get into this job battle with them.
Right. Let me take 2 steps back, right? Because I had to go to my friend Merriam-Webster and look up the etymology, as well as look up the etymology of the word resignation. So resignation comes from the medieval Latin word resignationem.
What the?
I didn't want to say resignationem. It's resignationem.
You said this from the medievals?
From the medieval Latin.
So cats been quitting since back in the medieval times around here.
Well, what the word, the origin of the word, what it means in its origin, it means to surrender, to give up, to relinquish. And when I think of those words, those are not necessarily power words when you apply them.
Quit. Give up.
Right.
I can't handle it.
Right. And
I can't cut the mustard.
I'm not going to tell you to stay in a work environment that does not work for you. I'm not saying to stay in a toxic environment. I'm not saying to stay loyal to an employer because your mother or your grandmother did that. No, not at all. But think about what it means for you to give up, what it means for you to relinquish, what it means to you to surrender.
First of all, what does that do to you? Like, think about that. Like, what does it do to you mentally? Like, if we want to like get deep and like look at this, what you knock wood for?
Tapped out.
Right. But I'm saying, like, think about it from like a totally different perspective. Like, subconsciously, what it's doing to a person, and then what are the decisions and actions they take after that. If your mentality is to say like, I had somebody. Ooh, I cursed. I had somebody who quit, and they was just like, "Oh yeah, I give you another crazy."
I got an example.
I got an example. Right, someone started working here, and they wanted to do a particular type of security, and we said that project is not going to start for another 3 to 4 weeks based on the feedback the client just gave us. They're getting zeros, no hours, no income, no work, and said, "Hey, there's another opportunity you could do temporarily until that one comes on, since that's your preference. Would you be interested?" They were like, "Yeah, sign me up." Like, "Oh, this place, I love this kind of interviews. You guys are so warm and inviting and professional, blah, 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 blah." Boom. Person starts working. They're in 6 days, 1 week, 1 day into the next schedule. Email me at 5:40 something in the morning on a Sunday and was like, "Yeah, this ain't for me. I quit. I ain't coming in. I'll be in on such and such day to pick up my check." Somebody on the team reached out to them later on and was like, "Yeah," the person who had been interviewing them throughout the process, et cetera, onboarded them, was like, "Hey, yeah, I heard that you sent some email and you quit and this, that, and the third." Then they went through and was like, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah." But
what I really wanted was this.
Yeah, I really wanted to work this type of location. They were like, "But wait a minute, when you came on board, we said that would happen in this time frame. You didn't even give it you didn't even put in a month. Like, bro, you didn't even put in 2 weeks."
And understand the reason that he didn't go where he wanted to go is not because we were being evil.
No, it's because
the client has pushed back the start date.
But my point is, I said that in the beginning. We explained to the gentleman.
People don't understand that in business, sometimes it's not the motivation of the owners. It's not the motivation of the supervisors or management. It's based on what the client wants and needs.
Here's the other part.
So we were intending to start November 1st. The client came back and they said, "Oh, November 29th.
But here's the other part. When I say it goes to this this mentality, your psychology, and then how the ethics that your work ethics that you build for, not even work ethics, I'm talking about life ethics. Like, you will quit in a heartbeat. Like, I tried, but I'm like, or I think that's going to be too hard. That's some really deep stuff on a psychological level. Like, you quit before you even try. Mentally, you've already programmed yourself to say, if it doesn't go exactly this way, I'm going to hit the no button, right? I just want, what's that, Staples, the easy button? Mm-hmm. Like, they just want easy. And just think about it. This person, and we're talking about and let me be absolutely clear. if anybody out there in Commerce and Chill Land or watching this on YouTube or wherever, and you're like, hey, those millennials, bull. This person is damn near 60-something years old that did that, right? We talking about in their 50s.
Full grown.
It got nothing to do with age. It got
7
to do
times
with
3
mentality.
and then some.
Okay? So let me be clear before anybody be like, yeah, it's probably some millennial. 0. Because I know some baby boomers who have work ethics of a gnat, okay? Or a fruit fly, whatever you want to call it. It is no age, there's no gender, there's no race. It's people. It's people. And it's a mentality piece. Right? So think about that mentality where this individual sat there, had a discussion with the team and said, this is what it is, and you have a choice. It's not like we had them in a room and we was like, yo, you got to take this. This all we got. You better take this. And we had lights shining on them.
And we're only going to pay you minimum wage.
We started waterboarding them. And no, it was like, hey, think about it. Let us know if you want it, blah, 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 because we know you wanted to do this particular type of thing. And we're sorry that the date got pushed back by the client and you're ready to start working, but we have another opportunity where you could earn. Listen, the name of this game is simple. It's to put money in people's pockets. That's our job as an entrepreneur. If you think you're becoming an entrepreneur because it's about you, let me tell you something right now. Go take your corporate binder and set that shit on fire because you are in this for the wrong business. It's for the wrong reasons. It's not about you. When you incorporate and you start hiring people, they all come before you. So right away, our first concern was, how do we get income into your pocket, being that this project got delayed? And then for them to say, okay, I'll do it. And then not pick up the phone. And we're not talking about people who get hired and become part of our team. And it's like some system like they do when you become a dasher or something. You just threw it through an app and you don't really see anybody or talk to them. Like they come to the office. We do 2-3 interviews. Like we're talking like, here, want a snack? Like, oh, have some water. It's engaging. It's engaging. Yeah. Like it's real people. It's an interaction. Yeah. So for you at no point in time can pick up the phone and say, hey.
Hello, I'm sorry. I don't think this is for me. I have more respect for that.
Right. If I'd have got the call at 5:45 in the morning and been like, hello? What? Man, really? Can you at least go today? Like, this is kind of short notice. You're supposed to be to work in like 2-3 hours. Like, just like that mentality says something.
This is the thing though, right?
But then when the second conversation came, the person was like, oh yeah, well, if you have the other opportunity coming up, I'll just wait for that. So what kind of programming have you gotten that you're willing to say, I'm going to sit, and this is what I'm talking about, it's the psychological, forget the whole resignation, the quitting. It's psychological for people that you're willing to sit back and do absolutely nothing. You do not have the mindset of a creator. And when I say creator, like you willing to make something, to build something, to put your energy to work, to do something constructive. You're willing to just sit back and say, I'm going to wait for this to come to me in some form and fashion, the exact way I want it. That ain't even the secret. I don't know what that's called. But let me explain something to you. You know where that's going to lead you?
I know where it's not going to lead you to a job at Johnson Security, because I can tell you right now, one of my mantras is I do not negotiate with terrorists.
But we're not even talking about a job.
You've never heard me say it before. I do not negotiate with terrorists. So at the moment you hit the send button on that email, you could have thought about it. You could have picked up the phone. The minute you hit send on the email and say, I quit, this ain't for me.
You wrote the email, so you had time to read what you wrote. Like, it's deep when you do that. Because it's not like you just called somebody and was like, you got upset and you said it in the spur of the moment. You're like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You sat there and typed it. You had time to proofread it. Listen, if you use Gmail, you hit send, there's an option to say undo just before you send it. You can say, oh no, bring it back. And because it sits on the server before they push it. So you gave that a lot of conscious thought when you hit that send button and you typed it.
And he painted himself in a corner, because at this point, if I can't trust you with a little, how do I trust you with a lot? If we clearly explain to you, understanding your expectation, what we were going to do, and that was not good enough, and so you could not stay on the team. What makes you think when you come back a week later and like, well, can I do that other thing?
Well, that happened. But
I know what I'm saying.
But like, forget the job part.
But really, what do you expect the outcome to be?
This is deeper.
You can't win.
That's it. This is a system. If you have not figured out in life as an adult yet, what you put into it is what you get out, you are not owed anything. You are not entitled to anything. You get what you put into it. If you don't put, and people are gonna be, oh, Waleed, I've done this and I've done that, and it's just bad luck and this bull, right? It's bull. We get out what we put into it. There's some stuff I half-ass did, and I got half-ass results right now, and I got one person to blame, me, because that's just simple, right? And we've all done it time to time. But when you can own it up and accept it, then you got something different going on there. Because then you can say, this is what I did. How do I correct it? Let me own it. Instead of sitting back, it's the system. It's the man oppressing me. They don't want me to get ahead. It's this, it's that.
So we're not going to whine and complain. What we want to do is to empower you with information, tips, and tools so that you can rebound and be successful through the Great Resignation, through the big quit, or whatever workforce challenges come your way as you grow your small business. So here are 6 ways that you can put team first within your small business, especially as you're growing it, so that you can build a culture that lasts, right? Because coming from our combined
no, and there will people who leave your company because it's not a good fit for them, or because you neglected something as the employer. Like they're like, oh, the culture is here. It's a negative vibe. Right. So what you're speaking to, these 6 points, totally factual, totally should be followed by other business owners, SMBs.
Number 1, inspire with passion. Either you have it or you don't. Number 2, persevere with determination. Number 3, collaborate with unity. So you may not have everything you need, but make sure you have strategic partners and other organizations that can support you in the places that you don't have. Number 4, grow without bounds. I just returned from Palm Springs, California with our friends at EY, where they have their annual strategic growth forum. And they celebrated the EY winning women as well as the Entrepreneur of the Year award winners from here in the United States. Yeah, he stayed in work. But the great thing is when you talked to the entrepreneurs and the businesses that were winning, it's because they didn't limit their vision for their businesses. And because they went in with a growth mindset, they were able to grow without bounds. So wherever you are with your business, I encourage you to follow number 4, grow without bounds. Number 5, create with impact. So look beyond what it's going to do for you. Think about what you create from your products, your services, the impact that you make in the community. How does it have a ripple effect? And how can you have a multiplier effect to what you're doing? And lastly, number 6, lead with character. Waleed made the reference that there's nothing wrong with going from leaving one job and taking another. When you see people who have a track record of doing that repeatedly, that doesn't speak to the companies that's hiring them. That really speaks to who they are and their character. They often seem to lack a character of commitment. They seem to lack a character of stick-to-itness, of seeing things through, of dedication.
And you can't let that get you down as a business owner, because you're like, I hired these people, I hired this individual, I hired this person, and they quit. And then you think it's something.
You take it personally.
You take it personally. And don't get me wrong, you need to self-reflect.
Yeah.
You need to talk to your other team members and take the post, like what's going on in the office, or what's going on in the factory, et cetera, like what's going on out in the field. Like you want to take their post and understand so you could tweak and make these changes in your business to keep everyone, kind of on the same, I don't even want to say on the same level, but on the same, to have some harmony.
In the same direction. Oh, yeah, harmony,
right?
Yeah.
So people enjoy it. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying that they got to come to work and be like, oh, I love this place.
Right, if that's
but
not
they
the
should
case,
have some sense of like, I'm going to work today. All right, there's a few things at work I don't like doing, but I know I got to do them because it's called work. It's a job.
There's one,
and then these other things that I enjoy. So like it's a balance.
There's one example I have to share because it really didn't. It's not called fun. It doesn't sit right with my spirit, and so
it's a job.
I'm just gonna put it out into the atmosphere and release it. A while back, we hired someone who came to us and said that they had several jobs, but they couldn't keep a job because they had something in their history that kept coming up. So every time they get there for a little while,
I know you're going.
The company will release
I'm done
them.
with this episode.
So we're like, okay, we'll give you a chance. We went above and beyond to make that person feel at home, gave them the opportunity to do the things that they said that they wanted to do, that they were capable of doing. And then we realized why that person couldn't stay where they were, because the person finally broke down and explained what their indiscretions were. So already, we don't judge people when they check the box, right? Because we can't, as employers, ask them, "Oh, were you arrested? Were you in criminally justice involved?"
It's not about them checking the box, right? In that scenario, the individual wasn't candid. Fine. It came out later on because of the type of business at one of our businesses, the type of business we do, that got flagged right away by some of the different entities and agencies we work with. And then they were like, hey, this person can't work anymore unless they do this, and this. So you must immediately sever ties with them. And now, let's be clear. The person has a family to support, bills to pay, et cetera, et cetera. So now it's zero income. And all I'm going to say, and I'm going to shut up so we can wrap this episode up. When you go above and beyond and take someone from here and then you move them over here so they can remain whole financially. And when I say from here to here, they're not eligible to work here because they can't meet the requirements. And then we give them a job somewhere else to work there temporarily until they can straighten everything out and go back to the original place they were.
Push them to straighten things out so that these things, their
guide
past
them
wouldn't keep.
and make phone calls, etc. And then later on, it's like, you know what? Hey, I quit because I'm going to do something else. Respect.
Right, but understand, person could not have done said new opportunity had they not cleaned up the things that they cleared up while they were working for us, had they not had finances coming in while they worked for us.
Or somebody made phone calls to help them get stuff cleared up.
Well, we're not going to say nothing about
But anyway,
that.
on this episode of Commerce and
That's
Chill,
what happens when we put team first.
I'm going to practice the Great Resignation because I'm resigning from this episode. I'm Waleed. She's Jessica.
And we got to.
And I'm going home to sit on my couch and do nothing instead of a podcast. But anyway, you were saying.
That's it. That's the episode.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
So don't give up. Whether you're in business, whether you're employee, think about what's really driving you and be true to yourself in your character. If you have to resign, there's a good way to do it.
And do what you say you're going to do. Even though it might be hard, it might be uncomfortable, sometimes you just got to suck it up. I've taken jobs and I was like, this thing sucks. I really don't want to do it. But somebody referred me, or somebody did this, or somebody put their name on the line for me to get it. So I had to sit there and make out a plan and say, I guess I got to suck this up for another 6 months to a year, because I can't just turn around tomorrow and be like, I can't do this, or I quit because I don't like it. And you know what? A lot of times once I started doing it or got involved deeper, I found some other stuff that was like, wow. And it led to this next thing and it led to this other thing. So something that turned out as something you thought was negative turned into a huge positive later on because I gave it a chance. I started where I was and worked with what I had.
I'll just
Stop
add
being
this
so
one
damn
last point.
picky sometimes.
I'll just add this one last point. This workforce that we're experiencing right now during COVID, the after effects of COVID, it's not going to last forever. And so the tide is going to turn. As an employer, keep that in mind. As a small business owner, keep that in mind. What's going to be the long-term play? When you build a culture and build a team, that's going to be more important than the people who don't see your vision and the people who aren't willing to work with you. So stay the course. It's going to get better. Promise. I promise you it's going to get better. Just hold on tight, and we're going to see the Great Resignation be something in our rearview mirror. So thanks for stopping by. It's been the latest episode of Commerce and Chill. I am Jessica Johnson Coe.
I'm Waleed, covering a shift right now for somebody who just called out, who probably should take part in the Great Resignation because their track record here is just so horrible. But I'm Waleed.
We're out.